It was the summer of 1862, and when Dakota leaders came to the U.S. Indian Agency in Minnesota, starving and desperate, trader Andrew Myrick told them, "If they're hungry, let them eat grass." The result was one of the all-time stories of vengeance. The internet says it's true. Welcome to The Internet Says It's True, where every week we learn something that sounds made up but is really true. Part of the WCBE podcast experience. My name is Michael Kent. Welcome back. This is episode 253. This episode is coming out on August 25th, which means in just 1 week we'll be celebrating the official launch of the book. The Internet Says It's True, stories that sound made up but aren't. If you haven't gotten your pre-order of the book in, make sure you do that. There is a link in the show notes, and those will ship next Monday. I can't wait for you to all read this book. It's great to keep in the bathroom or on the coffee table, or just pick it up and read a story every now and then. I've heard from a lot of people who have already pre-ordered the book, and so I appreciate that. Let's try to get this thing up on the bestsellers list of the history humor category, and we can do that through pre-orders. So pre-order your book now. Once again, the link is in the show notes, and I really do appreciate that. For our Tizziters, our Patreon supporters, I mailed out a bunch of advanced copies of the book to those folks who are at the $5 and $10 levels. You can join at any level, though. If you want to support the show, just go to patreon.com/Michael Kent. You'll see everything there. I just got back from doing a couple college shows this week. I was at UNC in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and then I was in Philly to perform at Widener University, and now I'm back home resting for the weekend. And then coming up on September 6th, I'll be headlining the Columbus Comedy Festival at Boxland. Those tickets are still available, so if you're in the Central Ohio area, make sure you get your tickets to see me there. The show is called Spell Yeah. I didn't name it, but it's kind of clever, I guess. Anyway, this week's episode is a story of persecution and vengeance. Let's get into it. Now, to really understand this story, we need to set the stage. It's 1862, and the United States is in the middle of the Civil War. But while everyone thinks of battlefields like Antietam and Gettysburg, there was another conflict brewing far from the eastern battlefronts, in the Minnesota River Valley. This was the homeland of the Dakota Sioux people, who had been living there for generations, but by this point in their history, their land, their resources, and their way of life had been drastically altered by treaties with the U.S. government, treaties that were often unfair, misunderstood, or outright ignored. Back in 1851, two treaties, the Treaty of Sevres des Sioux and the Treaty of Mendota, had forced the Dakota to cede huge portions of their land in Minnesota to the U.S. government. In return, they were promised reservations along the Minnesota River and annual payments in cash and goods. On paper, it might have looked like a compromise. In practice, it was devastating. The Dakota were left with only a fraction of their traditional lands that were less suited for hunting and farming. The annual payments, which were supposed to help them survive this transition, were constantly delayed, reduced, or outright stolen through corrupt practices. And that's where traders like Andrew Myrick come in. Myrick was a storekeeper in Minnesota. The Dakota, deprived of much of their land and hunting grounds, were now reliant on credit at these trading posts to feed their families while waiting for the government annuities to arrive. The traders would front them food, flour, and supplies, and then when the annuities finally came in, they would deduct what was owed. But in the summer of 1862, a crisis hit. The Civil War had stretched the U.S. government's resources pretty thin, and these payments that were already often late were delayed even further. Food supplies were dwindling. The Dakota were facing starvation, and when the tribal leaders approached the traders for credit, just enough food to keep their families alive until the government checks came through, Andrew Myrick refused. His infamous response was, "So far as I'm concerned, if they're hungry, let them eat grass or their own dung." Now, it's one thing to refuse credit, but to add an insult like that when people are literally starving, that kind of cruelty doesn't just get remembered, it lights a fire. And it did. The Dakota people were desperate. Children were dying of hunger. The traders' warehouses were full of food, but it was withheld. This wasn't just a minor inconvenience, it was survival. And Myrick's words became a symbol of the disdain, the disrespect, and the betrayal they felt from both the traders and the government. Tensions finally boiled over in August of 1862. a group of young Dakota men, hungry and frustrated, killed several white settlers after an altercation. This sparked what would become the Dakota War of 1862, also known as the Sioux Uprising. It's worth pausing here to understand that this wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment rebellion. This was decades of broken promises, corruption, starvation, and humiliation, finally erupting into violence. On August 18, 1862, the Dakota attacked the Lower Sioux Agency, a hub of government and trading post operations. And one of their first targets? Andrew Myrick. And when they found him, they killed him. But they didn't stop there. When his body was discovered later, his mouth had been stuffed full of grass, a gruesome but symbolic retaliation for his callous remark. So Andrew Myrick's cruelty came back to haunt him in the most literal way possible, but his death was just the beginning of a war that would spiral into one of the bloodiest and most tragic conflicts in Minnesota history, one that ended with the largest mass execution in U.S. history. We'll get into that after a break. What if your kid could open a box and step into another century? With History Unboxed, they can. Each month, a new time-traveling adventure arrives at your doorstep, packed with hands-on projects, stories, recipes, and learning has never been more fun. No screens, no boring textbooks, just immersive, age-appropriate fun that makes history stick. Whether they're mummifying an apple like an Egyptian, or crafting medieval armor, or exploring the music of the Harlem Renaissance, they're not just learning about history, they're living it. Used by families, homeschoolers, and educators across the country, History Unboxed makes the past come alive with every box. I think it's amazing that I'm personally in my 40s and I'm still learning history every week. I wasn't interested in history as a kid, and I think that's because I didn't have something that made it fun. Things have changed since then. History Unboxed makes learning history engaging, fun, and hands-on in the comfort of your own home. So if your child loves to ask why and what was it like, this is the perfect way to fuel that curiosity. Ready to time travel? Sign up today by clicking the deals link in the show notes.
We're living through the most dynamic time in human history, and what we do as leaders matter. We are the ones that create the leverage to shift directions of our companies, our nonprofits, and our communities. As a leader or an emerging leader, please join me for a dynamic conversation with top thought leaders, academics, and executives to learn more about how to elevate your leadership. I'm Maureen Metcalf. Join us at the WCBE podcast experience at wcbe.org.
There was a time that humans used 100% organic products as healing balms and moisturizers for their skin. Well, I've partnered with an awesome company that wants to get back to those times. Fatco sells organic and responsibly made tallow-based skincare products. For centuries, humans used tallow in skin moisturizers and healing balms, but unfortunately, the topical application of these fats seemed to stop around the same time that animal fats stopped being considered part of a healthy diet. A lot of modern skincare products do more harm than good by stripping your skin of its natural oils. Let's change that. You can try them out now at fatco.com and get 15% off your order by using my promo code INTERNET. Go to theinternetsaysitstrue.com/deals for the link. If you love listening to this podcast every week and you want to show your support, that would mean a great deal to me. You can do that by becoming a Patreon member. We've got members at all levels, whether you want to pledge $1 a month or $10 a month. Just think about the value that you receive from this show. And if you like the histories and the stories that you learn about or the jokes that you hear, and if you think that they're worth it, consider signing up. For that, you get every episode ad-free and a week early, access to bonuses like the unedited videos of the guest appearances, and 20% off all merchandise. You can sign up today at patreon.com/Michael Kent. That's patreon.com/Michael Kent.
Hey, I'm Cliff Baumgardner.
And I'm Harrison Stewart.
If you're like us, you probably grew up watching the Discovery Channel classic, Mythbusters.
From rocket cars to chicken cannons, Mythbusters proved there's no question too big, too small, or too ridiculous to put to the test.
Now we're going back to rewatch the show from episode 1, and we want you to follow along. Join us as we revisit every single myth, moment, experiment, and explosion from throughout the show's legendary 14 seasons. Subscribe now so you don't miss one.
When we left off, Andrew Myrick was dead, and his infamous insult, "Let them eat grass," had been answered in kind. But the war itself was just beginning. The Dakota War of 1862 raged for 6 weeks from August to late September. During that time, Dakota warriors attacked settlements, stagecoach routes, and forts throughout the Minnesota River Valley. Hundreds of settlers were killed and many more fled eastward in panic. The U.S. military, already stretched thin by the Civil War, scrambled to respond. Eventually, soldiers under Colonel Henry Sibley pushed back against the Dakota forces, and by late September, the Dakota resistance collapsed. But the aftermath was brutal. After the fighting ended, over 300 Dakota men were taken prisoner and tried by military tribunals. The trials were rushed, often lasting less than 5 minutes, with little or no defense offered. Out of these trials, 303 Dakota men were sentenced to death. President Abraham Lincoln, who was dealing with the Civil War on multiple fronts, personally reviewed the cases. He commuted most of the death sentences, but approved 38 executions. On December 26, 1862, in Mankato, Minnesota, 38 Dakota Sioux men were hanged in what remains the largest mass execution in American history. Thousands of Dakota women, children, and elders were also forced into internment camps where many of them died of disease and exposure, and eventually, most of the Dakota were completely expelled from Minnesota. The story of Andrew Myrick's insult and its gruesome aftermath is often told as a kind of dark irony. You know, a cruel man who dismissed starving people with the words, "Let them eat grass," ends up with grass stuffed in his mouth. But it's also a reminder of the larger tragedy, a whole community of people displaced, starved, and punished for a situation largely created by broken treaties and government neglect. It's also a story that gets remembered differently depending on who's telling it. In some accounts, Myrick is just a minor figure, a footnote in the larger Dakota War, but among Dakota oral histories, his words are remembered as a turning point, the moment when humiliation became too much to bear. Now, when we zoom out and we look at history, it's striking how often hunger plays a role in sparking revolutions and uprisings. The French Revolution was driven in part by food shortages. The Irish potato famine reshaped not just Ireland, but also the United States through waves of immigration. And here in Minnesota, starvation was the catalyst for a desperate and deadly war. Food, or the lack thereof it, can change the course of nations. And in this case, a single man's cruelty crystallized that desperation into rage. So if there's a moral here, it's not just about Andrew Myrick getting his comeuppance. It's about the dangers of indifference to human suffering. His words may have been callous, but they became a symbol of something much bigger, a system that valued profit and power over people's lives. And when that happens, history shows us people will fight back. And that's the story of Andrew Myrick, the Dakota War of 1862, and how the phrase "let them eat grass" ended in tragedy, and the internet says it's true. It's time for the part of the podcast where I call Yap Yap with me and a friend. Today I'm calling Jonathan Burns. Jonathan is a triple threat comedian, variety performer, and semi-professional podcast guest. He's one of our regular guests on the show. Always great to catch up with Jonathan. And if you're wondering why I'm laughing, he was counting me down still while I was talking because I said I always do 10 seconds of silence before we go, and that I went early. So
I was doing the Wayne's World thing. 5, 4.
That's right. We can see your mouth. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Wayne's World. You're in Wyoming in a hotel after a college show.
I am. I know, glamorous life. Wyoming's beautiful. Have you been here?
It's the only state I've not been to. It's literally my last one. I've never done
it is
22 years.
It's a gorgeous, like, if you ever have to drive through it, if you're like out this way, it's really pretty. I'm leaving here today. I'm heading to Colorado for 2 days. It turns out my mother-in-law is visiting her friend in Colorado, and now I'm having dinner tonight with her and her 80-year-old friends from high school.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
So yeah, I was like, oh, okay. It all kind of came together yesterday. They're very excited that I'm coming, so I'm gonna hang out with some ladies in Colorado.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always fun for us to travel when we're not working. Like if we're traveling for some reason other than working, it's always nice.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I have like 2 days where I'm just moving around, and then I'm on more shows in Iowa. But yeah, beautiful. It's a beautiful country.
Love it. Well, before we get into the topic for the day, do you have like a fact, maybe something that we don't know?
Well, when I come on Yap Yap with Michael Kent, I always try to have a pre-guess. I study up on a certain subject because I'm assuming this is what we will be talking about.
Okay.
And this time I know for sure that we will be discussing the 1990s sitcom Family Matters.
You're very close.
Mm.
In that the podcast was about matters.
Okay.
That's as much as it is. But what do you know
Did you
about
know
Family
that
Matters?
that Family Matters was a spin-off of another 1990s sitcom?
No, what was it? A spinoff of?
Perfect Strangers.
Balki
Cousin Larry
Bartakamus?
and Balki Bartakamus.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
So what is it? Carl Winslow was like made an appearance in Perfect Strangers?
I think it was Harriet, the wife. She was a character on Perfect Strangers who worked. She was as the elevator operator on the Chicago Chronicle, the fictional newspaper that Larry and Balki worked at.
I feel like this is a really weak spinoff. Like that's a really weak string to connect the two shows. They're like, we have
that elevator operator.
This character actor that we had in that one episode was also a character actor in one episode of this other show. Can we call it a spinoff?
Yeah, I guess they went for it.
Well, that's something I've never heard. So that's incredible. Wow.
You're welcome. It's been great being here, you guys. The internet says it's true.
Let's get into our topic. We're playing for a joke. So if you get it wrong, you got to tell me a joke. If you get it right, I'll tell you one. Here is question number 1. What infamous phrase did traitor Andrew Myrick say to starving Dakota people in 1862? Did he say, quote, work or starve? Did he say, let them eat grass? Or did he say, hunger is your problem, not mine?
Man, I don't remember him on Family Matters at all.
No.
Steve Urkel's dad? Could it be?
No. This was was like a fur trader named Andrew Myrick, or a food trader.
Oh, okay. A trader, like TRAITOR.
With a D. Yeah.
Not TRAITOR. He said what was the third one?
So the options are work or starve, let them eat grass, or hunger is your problem, not mine.
Hunger is your problem, not mine. Which
The
is also
answer.
the original slogan for Snickers.
It was the original working title of Family Matters.
What?
The answer is let them eat grass. And the reason that people know this is because he said that it got around to the Dakota Sioux tribe, and then he was killed by the Native Americans. And when he was found with a bunch of grass shoved in his mouth. So,
Wow.
Yeah, it was a vengeance story. So similar to Family Matters, very similar. Sometimes when we have these heavy subjects, it's nice to have some comedian on so that we can lighten the mood a little bit. We're not making light of it, but do you have a joke for us?
When is the best time to ask a French person to agree with you on something?
When
going down a slide. Wee.
Okay, so I wasn't.
That's I wrote that down the other day because it made me laugh. That's an original.
I love it. Try it out. it's funny because like I always prepare, or I prepare a joke that has something to do with the topic or whatever. And mine is a Native American, a pirate, and a Frenchman walk into a bar. The bartender says, "Gentlemen, how are we today?" So, how are we?
Wow, man.
You work a lot in French-speaking places. You go to
Right.
where was it that you performed in where you told me their "we" was weird?
Oh,
That sounds funny, but
well,
who has a
I
weird
was just in
"we"?
France. I was just in France working in Paris at the Crazy Horse. And that's very French. Everything's, oui, like it's very, beautiful language.
Sure,
But then
like
when you go
airy, an airy "we."
yeah, but then I've also worked in Montreal and Quebec, and that French accent is very different. So it's not oui, it's wah. It's very duck-like. Wah. And
Love
they
it.
know it, but it's after you hear French people speaking and then you hear French Canadian people speaking, there's a very big difference.
That's great. All right, for question 2, we're playing for me to mow your lawn. If you get it
Okay,
right, I'll mow your lawn. Yeah,
well,
I'll
are you gonna
drive.
ride to my house on?
Yeah, like I literally just drove through
Wow.
your area
Like,
yesterday. But I'll come back and I'll mow your lawn.
wow,
if
I
I
didn't
get this
even
one
hear
right.
your lawnmower.
Oh, I didn't
Amazing.
drive on a
Okay.
lawnmower. I was in a car.
Okay. I pictured the whole way there.
No, not what I did. Um,
Okay.
so for question 2, here's my question. Which U.S. president was in office during the Dakota War of 1862? Was it Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, or James Buchanan?
What was the year again?
62.
I say it like it's gonna help me.
1862.
1862. I'm gonna go with Buchanan, who's also from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where I also reside.
Is that right?
It is, yeah.
Then you should know he was not president in 1862. I'm sorry, I needed this sound.
I knew another fact about him. Does that count?
Yeah. What's your other fact about Buchanan?
Well, no,
Was he
that
the
was
original
it.
consideration for the role of Carl Winslow on Family Matters?
No, but did you know Steve Urkel was only supposed to be in one episode?
I did know this, and he
Yeah.
was a huge hit.
He was a huge hit, got any cheese, and took over the entire series.
Yeah, and ruined his life as an actor.
Well, and Harriet's life, man, she thought she was gonna have this whole elevator operator job, and nothing.
Yeah, okay. Well, Lincoln
So you're
was,
not gonna mow my lawn? Is that what
I'm
you're, is that what
I'm
you're
not going to
saying?
mow your lawn, but you have to mow mine now.
Ooh, okay.
Lincoln was president during the war. While he approved the execution of 38 Dakota men, he also commuted the sentences of over 260 others.
Wow.
So the Dakota War happened during the Civil War.
Mm.
Yeah, and it was only a few days long, or I think it was like, what was it? I got to go back and find it now. It was 6 weeks long. 6
That
weeks.
seems more like a skirmish to me.
Yeah, but yeah. So that's what happened.
The Dakota skirmish.
There's a book called, I believe it's called 38 Nooses. I read this book a few years ago, and it's about this. It's about basically at the end of it, they were going to hang 300 and some Native Americans that they had captured after this uprising by the Sioux. And Lincoln went over each and every case and dismissed both of them, or most of them, rather. And then when it came to 38, those were, we're going to hang 38 people, and they didn't do it one at a time. They built a scaffolding with 38 nooses, and they hanged them all simultaneously.
Wow.
Yeah. Really juxtaposes against your Family Matters preparation.
Yeah.
Sorry to bring this whole thing down, man.
Well, did you know that the youngest Winslow child just totally disappeared at the beginning of season 5?
This was Judy, I believe.
Yes. In the show's 4th season, the Winslow's youngest daughter, Judy, is seen walking upstairs, but never comes down. And then when
That's so
season 5
funny.
rolls around, she's gone.
They didn't even mention anything. They didn't say they didn't say what happened to that other daughter we had. They just
Judy.
erased her from the show.
Poof.
It was so weird.
Brutal.
I feel like if that happened today because of social media and the internet, they wouldn't get away with it.
No.
But back then, they could just do whatever they wanted. They could change Becky's and change the mom on Fresh Prince, Vivian. Yeah. They could do whatever they wanted.
Man.
For question 3, we're going to play for a sticker. What was the main food staple promised to native tribes in many treaties, but often delayed or spoiled when delivered? Was it potatoes, flour, or corn?
I was hoping you would say, got any cheese? Potatoes, flour, or corn?
Potatoes, flour, or corn?
I'm going to say corn.
Final answer?
Yep.
Flour. Flour was the central staple in annuity payments, but poor transport and corruption often meant it arrived late or it was inedible. So they had bad flour. Yeah. In episode
maize.
Season 3, episode 4 of Family Matters, Urkel tries to give Laura a flower. And it's no, I don't know. Sorry, I was playing your part there. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to step on your stuff.
No, that's all right. No. I understand. You'd rather hear something like "There were 2 Harriets." Did you know that?
Wait, no, I did not know this. There were 2 Harriets.
Yes, who's the whole series is based on the original Harriet.
Yeah, apparently, I never knew that. Everyone thinks it's it started. You think it's about Carl, but then but then it becomes about Urkel.
Bell Johnson. Yeah, she left midway through the series of the ninth and midway through the mid of the 9th and final season.
So then they just replaced her like they did Aunt Viv and Becky?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow, I need to start including her in my list of, and Darren from Bewitched.
Yes, yeah.
Wow. Did you ever hear
Big Sergeant? Yeah.
Did you ever hear the Carl Winslow theory about how it's like a Die Hard Carl Winslow theory?
Okay, because he's the cop in Die Hard, and then he's also a police officer in Family Matters.
Yeah, and there's a whole thing about how it's all connected. It's from a podcast. Oh, here it is.
Al Powell is a rookie cop in New York. One day, he's tasked with escorting 4 scientists known as the Ghostbusters to the mayor's office. He overhears what Egon and the other Ghostbusters are explaining about paranormal activity. Being a nice, talkative young man, he keeps asking questions. He eventually gets the Twinkie explanation from Egon. He was also there to witness Gozer, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, the near destruction of all life on Earth. Unable to think clearly, he accidentally shoots a 13-year-old boy because they thought the kid had a real gun. The shooting was investigated. He was found to have not done anything wrong, but it was time for a change of scenery. He transfers to L.A., where he's forced to work a desk job while his work probation runs its course. We see him in Die Hard buying Twinkies. His knowledge of Twinkie ingredients and willingness to tell John McClane about it shows his obsession with the food since leaving New York, and Egon's explanation won't leave his brain. He's still not in a good place mentally. We start to see the cracks forming in his reality. He admits to the store clerk that Twinkies are for his pregnant wife. But this is just a made-up lie to himself to appear normal because he's not an everyday guy. There's not a wedding ring on his finger. He's beginning to build up an alternate reality in his mind because he tells John McClane the same thing. He even starts to hang on to the hope of forming a quick friendship with John. Unfortunately, the events that night at Nakatomi Plaza force Al into murdering again in the line of duty after almost being killed by terrorists. John moves on with his life, and the police chief takes all the credit for saving the day. This nightmare is at its peak for Al Powell, and he's admitted to a mental institution where he completely breaks down. To escape the pain, he creates an alternate reality in his head where he becomes Carl Winslow, a family man in Chicago as far away from the coast as possible. He's still a cop, but his duties never interfere with a solid, loving home life. He has a wife, 3 kids, a sister-in-law, a mother, all surrounding him, giving him support whenever. He is safe. He is happy. However, the guilt of his real life is manifesting itself and bubbling underneath until it finally pushes its way into Al's dream world. A 13-year-old boy named Steve Urkel
Oh my.
The very same boy that Al killed accidentally back in New York.
Oh no.
With nothing to offer but being obnoxious, interrupting Al's peaceful dream existence, Steve haunts him like an angry spirit, causing frustration. Carl's powerless. As each horrible torture befalls Carl and his family, his tormentor cries, "Did I do that?" Only to serve and mock Carl even more, because Carl did do that. He killed the boy. The harder Carl tries to suppress his guilt, the worse it becomes. It becomes so unbearable that his peaceful life turns into a horror flick, eventually giving him a heart attack and having his family disappear one by one. Carl's Winslow dream reality crumbles, leaving Al Powell alone in a straitjacket and padded room until he dies.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the end of it gets a little weird, but my favorite, and that's, by the way, that's from the Confused Breakfast podcast, to give them credit. And I've heard it other places as well, but that's like the best reading of it that I've heard. Yeah. Wow. The end of it's a little weird, but my favorite part is did I do that? Because he did do that. Everything's related. Wow. And what this means is technically Die Hard is a spinoff of Perfect Strangers.
Harriet. Who do you think operates the elevators at Nakatomi Plaza?
That's right. That's right. Well, we have 2 more questions to go. For this one, we're going to play for a copy of my new book, which comes out 1 week from when you're listening to this podcast. Monday, September 1st, Labor Day, is the launch date of The Internet Says It's True, Stories That Sound Made Up But Aren't. Pre-order your copy now, because that helps me a ton in a week when it drops, because it'll show more sales, more first day sales. So
I've already ordered mine.
Have you? Thank you.
I have.
I appreciate that. I'll tell Amazon to auto pen my autograph, so you get an autographed copy from the warehouse.
Ooh.
No.
Fancy.
Here's your question. You get a second copy that you can gift. If you get this right, you'll get a second copy that you can gift to someone else. Sorry. What you were going to say something, and I
get every question
you.
wrong. So now, no, I get every question wrong. So this will be nice for me to reread the right answers.
That's right. Yeah, you can go through all of the past episodes on which you've appeared. All right, here's your question. Which U.S. state saw the Wounded Knee Massacre in 1890, which was another tragic chapter of Native American history? Was it A, Minnesota, B, North Dakota, or C, South Dakota?
Wounded Knee. I've heard of it. Do I know where it happened? No. I'm going to say Minnesota.
The answer, South Dakota. Jonathan, you're 0 for 4 today.
See, this is why I need the book, and
That's
why you need the book.
You need the book. Yeah, Wounded Knee occurred in South Dakota, marking one of the last major violent conflicts between Native Americans and the U.S. Army. This is another great book called Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, if you're interested in that story. Not a funny story like Family Matters, but it is a real story, and it's true, and it's sad. So unfortunately, you don't get another copy of my book. Sorry to tell you. But if you write a book, you owe me one copy. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Actually, the penalty for getting that wrong is that now you have to write a book.
Oh no! All right, fine.
What would your book be about?
It's going to be about this guy. Well, there's a cop who's in New York. He kills a 13-year-old boy, and he's transferred to L.A., where he has to he eats Twinkies and ends up helping a guy secure a building that has been taken over by terrorists, and then he's sent to a mental institution, and where he's haunted by the 13-year-old boy that he accidentally killed in the line of duty.
I love it. Can you hear my dogs upstairs, by the way, right now? My dogs are going nuts upstairs. Wow. I wonder what's going on up there.
They're probably excited about this podcast.
I think that's what it is. They're like, the Native Americans were treated horribly, and they're barking about that.
That's right. It's South Dakota. South Dakota.
Question 5, the final question. If you get this one right, it's as if you got 5 for 5. If you get it wrong, you're banned from the podcast, never to be asked on again. If you, Jonathan Burns, were forced to eat only one single food every day for a month, what food would you pick?
One single food every day
For
a
1 month.
Pizza.
Yeah. You wouldn't
Pizza.
get sick of pizza?
Nah, no, I could do it every day.
That's a
can't do it
correct
every day.
answer. That's a correct answer. I probably could do the same. But for me, it would have to be different types of pizza, different brands.
Well, that wasn't offered to me in the setup,
That's true.
but I would eat the same pizza every day. It's not, good pizza. But you know what? Even bad pizza's good. I just pizza.
Yeah, but I don't know about bad pizza being good.
I mean, I love
I'm with
I
you
love
with that.
really good pizza, but bad pizza is still in a pinch it'll do the job.
It does do the job in a pinch. Yeah, I had a slice from Sbarro on my
Ooh.
drive. It was a turnpike decision.
Wow.
Yeah,
In
it
your
was
time machine, I didn't even know Sbarro was still around.
yeah, they have them on the turnpike service plazas.
Big slice.
Yeah, so that's where I got that one. Somewhere on.
Are
the
you a
Pennsylvania
blotter?
Turnpike.
Or do you blot with
I
the,
don't
the-
blot. I don't
Yeah.
blot, but I do salt. I
You salt the pizza?
I salt the pizza. Yeah, I don't. It's something. The reason I do that is because of where I grew up. There's a place called Casano's Pizza with a really really salty pizza, and so
gotcha.
I prefer a lot of salt on my pizza. Horrible for me, but
Yeah. What besides salt? What is your go-to topping?
oh, I don't have a go-to topping. I think that if I'm trying a pizza for the first time, it's got to be just a pepperoni pizza. Like I'm a purist in that way. Like pizza to me is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pizza. Like it's just got to be like
sure.
pepperoni pizza. But
Cowabunga.
yeah, but if I'm feeling a little different, I can do like all of the toppings pretty much. I don't really have like there's a pizza that I get around here called the Dr. Dre, and it's there's not tomato sauce. It's like a oil for the sauce, and then it's fresh jalapenos, tomatoes, bacon, and grilled chicken. And it's a wonderful pizza at Dewey's. And place is called Dewey's. Fantastic place. But I really like jalapenos on pizza, so I'll do like pepperoni and jalapenos, or pepperoni like banana peppers, onions, sausage.
Have you ever done jalapeno pineapple?
No, that's
Sweet
interesting.
and spicy. It's nice. I mean, pineapple is it's a controversial topping, but
It's controversial, and I don't have a take on it only because I've never tried it. I've never had pineapple on pizza.
I'm willing to try all of it. There's a place near us, Luca Pizzeria. It's amazing. It's like our go out place all the time. And they in this time of year they have one that has corn on it, like sweet corn. And it's got this cream, and it's awesome. The first time I heard about it, I was like, corn on pizza, but it's delicious. Highly recommended.
This podcast has been brought to you by Pizza Hut, reminding you no one out pizzas the Hut. You can get Pizza Hut wherever you live. I'm just thinking if I were listening to this podcast, I'd be like, oh, I haven't had pizza in a while.
Wow, I'm hungry for pizza now. And now, like the many toppings too. Did you know Jaleel White played 8 different characters on Family Matters?
No, I mean I can only name 2. I can only name Steve Urkel and Stefan.
Yes. He played Stefan Urkel, as you mentioned.
Yeah, Stefan Urkel.
That's when he was cool. Cornelius Eugene, Myrtle Urkel, aka Urkel and Drag. Albert Einstein, Bruce Lee, and Elvis Presley.
Oh, so some of those were like dream sequences.
Yes, and he even provided the voice of Urkelbot.
I wonder if he got paid the same rate for all those.
I don't know.
Well, the world will never know, and that maybe is a subject for another podcast. Jonathan Burns, thank you so much for coming on the show. You can find Jonathan Burns at iheartburns.com. Is that the right website?
Yes, don't forget the I and the S. If you go to heartburn.com, that's Tums.
That's Tums. Don't go to Tums.com. But if you forget the S in Tums.com, ironically, it goes to Jonathan's website. Very strange.
Hey.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, good to see you.
That's all for this week. Thank you so much to my friend Jonathan Burns for being my guest, and thanks to you for listening. Here's a kid who eats grass for fun.
Thank you for listening to The Internet Says It's True. To listen to episodes ad-free and a week early, support us on Patreon. You can do that at patreon.com/Michael Kent. If you learned something just now that you didn't already know, go to the Apple Podcast app and leave us a review with 5 stars and a few words. That helps us a ton, because that's how the algorithm works. I don't know what an algorithm is, but just do it! See you next week for a brand new episode of The Internet Says It's True!
The Internet Says It's True would like to thank the Patreon subscribers whose monthly contributions help to make this show possible. Sean Brown, Joshua Endress, Dallas Ray, Bryce Swanson, Eugene Anderson, Jim and Joanne Martin, Mitch and Andrew Joseph Kemplin, and the show's official Emperor, Kick Track. The show is written and produced by me, Michael Kent. The theme song is by Finite Music Forge, and all audio clips in this episode are used for education and commentary and used under Fair Use Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107. You can listen to past episodes by searching for The Internet Says It's True wherever you get your podcasts, and you can see bonus content at patreon.com/Michael Kent.